Morning and welcome to Coffee Ann, the longest-running panel discussion show in American radio. To make a comment or ask a question of the panel, call 401-766-1240 or email coffee@woonsocketradio.com. And now, let's join the Coffee Ann panel.
And a good morning to you. It's time for Coffee Ann here on ON, AM, and FM. Thanks for joining us Thursday morning. It's October 17th. And my name's Joe Callahan. Across the table from me is attorney Bob Lauder. Good morning to you, Bob.
Good morning. Good to be with you.
Good. Your hand's looking better. It's out
Thank
of that
you.
plastic cast thing that it's in. We're down to an ace bandage now, huh?
Well, it's a compression bandage, but yeah.
Okay, well,
It's-
all right. It's got the same color and same texture.
I know, with the plastic arm thing, though, I was fearsome.
I know, but now, because he was hitting people, Tom.
Yeah, get out of my way.
And now it's going to hurt you and not them anymore. Tom Ward is here as well because Sue Tester McKenzie cannot be with us. So here he is, Tom filling in admirably.
Happy to fill in for Sue. She's
Thank
a
you so much
wonderful-
for being here, because when Joe first said that Sue wasn't coming,
Oh, Bob
and
got
I
deer in the
remembered how
headlights.
good yesterday's show was when you were talking football with somebody and you sounded real intelligent, and they did too, and I was thinking, this is going to be a terrible show.
Now that Tom is here,
Well,
Yes,
maybe
now it's
it
great.
elevates
Now
it,
it's
right?
great.
oh yeah, it'll be double terrible. I don't know. I hope not. I'll do my best.
all right, it's only going to cost us $95.6 million to rebuild the Washington Bridge.
And why not?
I know. I mean,
It's just money. It's just
it's
federal
just
money.
It's
just
just
federal money.
cash, and it's just
They just print
don't
more.
worry about it.
Print more.
That's right.
It's the way we do things here in America these days. Just
Well,
print
you know,
more.
The last 6 months of my father's life spent in the ICU at Roger Williams Medical Center, and my mother always worried, how much is this costing him staying here? I said, it costs so much, you don't have to worry about it.
Right.
And it's almost the same thing here. This bridge costs so much money, we don't have to really worry
Yeah.
about
Somebody will figure it out.
Now, it's $95 million,
it. 95.6, let's get this
Okay.
right. Yes.
but I read yesterday that Elon Musk had given $75 million to the Trump campaign.
Did he?
Ask
That's
him to
nice
build
of
the
him.
bridge instead.
Yeah. Something that's going to be more memorable. Have his
He
name
could
on
have
it.
a name on the bridge. He could definitely put his name on it.
All right, I got this a little backwards. I'm sorry. Rhode Island's getting a federal grant from the U.S. DOT, $96.5 million, and the $125 million grant announced last month brings the federal funds to the maximum amount the state is eligible to receive. So I don't know how much the bridge is going to cost.
Yeah, I was gonna
but
say,
this is, what,
you
this is
know,
the money
when
we're
you
getting.
said that, I thought to myself, that sounds low.
Yeah.
And especially, and the demolition costs too are on top
I don't know.
of that.
I don't know if that's part of this. Is part of the bridge rebuild. So I don't know if there's another grant on the whole taking it down kind of thing. So
Yeah,
I got my numbers mixed
bet
up.
it's
Sorry about
worse
that.
I bet it's much worse than that.
It's got
Where
to be
do they
now.
put all the material that they have taken away from the bridge that they're demolishing?
Oh, good news! They just drop it into the river.
Oh, okay.
No, they're not.
No, they're not.
That
doing
was
that.
if we could do that, we would just go on
much
in,
cheaper.
blown it up,
Yep.
and it would already be down now.
Much
but they're not
cheaper.
doing that. The company that cuts it up is carting it away to wherever they take it.
But that's Bob's question.
I
Where,
don't,
where,
yeah,
where does
where-
that bridge
I don't
go?
know. I don't know the name of the company that's doing it. I don't know where they're out of, but that's one of the rules. Is they have. To
I wonder if you can.
have to take it away.
And I know
they'll
nothing
probably
about
melt
this.
it down. Maybe there's
well,
copper in there.
That's
I don't
what
know.
I was going to say. The science of it. Well, the steel, of course, can be taken away
Yeah.
separately, and they'll melt that. But I wonder if concrete itself can be
you reuse
recycled.
it?
Can it be
I think you-
crumbled
I
up and
think you
powdered,
can.
and pulverized again,
And reuse it
used again? Or maybe it's too expensive. Doesn't make sense. I don't know. I know they've figured out. Milling of roads, I give them credit. That's a good recycling project because they mill those roads, and then they take away that old asphalt as
Right.
chips. But they use that. You ever see a road that's been built up, and then along the edge of the road, because I drive an RV now, you kind of tip off the edge because it's about 6 inches of, the asphalt is up
Right.
high,
Oh,
and,
yeah.
that, and that washes away along the side. And so they use the milling material to fill that in. And I've seen that along roads where they're taking that milling material and putting it and rolling it. And it makes a big difference. It makes the road much safer. And so it's like, okay, at least you're reusing some of this
Right,
stuff. Because
yeah.
as you say, where's this stuff go? And because it's not, especially the milled asphalt is dirty. It's polluting. It's oil. I mean, it's oil-based. So it's not like you can just put that in piles and let it leach into the environment. So you have to do something with that stuff.
Well, I passed a construction site on the highway a few days ago, and they hadn't taken away the concrete that they had removed from the construction site, and it was just piled against the side of the road. Well, it has lots of nice little holes in it for rats and other kinds of rodents to furrow in and make their nests. And I was thinking, this is not really great for the local neighborhood.
A little
and
hotel.
I know it's going to be taken away sometime, but where does it
Yeah,
go?
for now.
I thought I saw him on one of those building shows that you see on cable TV. I think they were over in Europe. Could have been Italy. But yeah, they were breaking up the concrete from a road, pulverizing it, and then using it again, but to make walkways.
Okay.
Not
okay.
to make
All right.
roads, but to make driveways and sidewalks and things like that.
Almost
I said,
like the stone dust underneath or
yeah,
something.
I said, that's not a bad idea.
Good.
And I think they were using it to make a floor too in someone's basement.
Okay.
I said, well, that's a pretty good recycling idea. So, but what the company is doing down in East Providence, I don't.
This is
where
a
do
good
they
one.
cart
This is a
stuff
good
away?
one
I
for-
don't
A
know.
lot of basements there that you can.
Yeah.
This is a good one for Ethan. Actually, back in the old days, he used to do a story, and if he thought of something like this and he'd question, and it was just exactly that. Someone in the community would say,
Where's it
"Well,
going?"
whatever happens to," and he would do the research and do a story, because you're right. When one person thinks that,
Someone
as you
else
say,
must be.
1,000 people are driving by the same spot as you. And 200 of them said the same thing. What the heck do they do with that stuff? And it's a good question. And no, it's not one
but
that's.
they're not dumping it in the river.
No, they're
they're
not.
doing that. So, geez, bad news down there in Cranston with the Applebee's restaurant up in flames.
Oh,
Yes.
really? I
A
did not hear
complete-
that.
A complete loss.
Now, where is this?
Garden City.
Oh, really? The Garden City one? Wow.
Well, according to the fire department, they believe the fire started around 5:30 in the morning. Grease fire in the ductwork, so it was in there just kind of smoldering after the workers left, and then poof,
Wow.
Wow.
up. They say it's a total loss.
I didn't think anything could be total losses anymore because, grease goes fast, but usually with sprinklers and things, don't restaurants have to have sprinklers? Or,
Sure, but
I would think.
I would imagine the sprinklers, however, would be in the ceilings of the dining area and the
Right,
ceiling of
yeah.
the kitchen.
Yeah.
And if the grease fire was in the ductwork, it's up above the sprinklers, so
until it
Maybe.
probably don't have much effect on
Yeah,
it.
yeah, but. Well, yeah, but I'm just thinking as the fire begins to spread, the sprinklers are going to kick in and limit the damage, I would think, but I don't know, obviously.
If you head over to either 12 or 10 or 6's website and see the pictures, the sprinklers didn't do anything.
No,
It's
it
like-
didn't
it's
work.
like, wow, all you just see is fire.
Wow.
Wow.
So put
Imagine
some
that.
people out of work, at least for a little while, unless they can move over to other Applebee's stores. But yeah, it's a big open space now down there.
Wow.
So it's totally going. So
I suppose it's a warning to those of us who have those kind of ductwork in their kitchens,
Clean it
especially
out.
commercial ones, to have it cleaned out.
Clean them out now and then.
all right, on to sports. Ready, Bob?
Oh yes, I am so ready. Thank
Well,
goodness Tom
it's
is
not,
here.
It's not really sports, but it deals with a sports figure, and there is a player for the New England Patriots who is not playing this year. He had blood clots in him. I'm not sure where, but they say, "Yo, you can't play, man. These things could break off and go to your
Sure.
heart, or go to your brain. It's going to kill you."
Right.
So he's not playing this year. But as with a lot of Patriots, they live in Rhode Island.
Yeah.
Cheaper, I guess, to
Yeah.
come down here.
What do you
And
mean
it's-
cheaper? It's because of the ambiance, the elegance of living in Rhode Island. Don't
Oh,
give us cheaper
think
stuff.
that's true.
It's closer to Providence is closer to Foxborough than Boston is to Foxborough. So it's a proximity thing, Bob.
Okay.
Anyway,
And the prices are half.
yeah,
For a house.
it is cheaper. That's right. So anyway, they pulled Christian Barmore over because he had expired registration and a display of plate penalties, which I'm not quite sure what that even means.
I think when I saw it on television, it was because there was some kind of panel over the registration plates on the front and the back of the car that made them very difficult to read.
Okay, all right. So
I've wondered about those things.
So now, but the player's accusing the Providence police of being unprofessional and racist.
Oh, yeah.
Now, I've seen the body cam footage of the police, and I don't see it. And the police have come out, and even the chief of police in Providence, Oscar Perez, says The officers acted in full compliance with protocols and state regulations, and the department will continue to review the situation to ensure that proper procedures were followed. They say he got out of the car, the player, and he was belligerent, and he was yelling at them.
Tell you,
Have you seen the video?
No, I haven't.
No? Have
but
you
this,
seen it?
This is
No.
No. Okay.
this is one of the
That's what it
things
looked like to
where the cameras help. Because
They sure do.
that whole race card thing is so easy to play. If you it's just easy to play, and so now the police and it works both ways. By the way, it'll also get bad cops doing bad things, and so you got to realize that these guys have video, and if they've got the video that show you acting up, it's like, oh, never mind.
So from what I've seen, he gets out of his car, Christian Barmore, and he's yelling and screaming. The Providence police are just standing there looking at him.
Usually, I mean, first of all, you're not even supposed to get out of your car. Start there. You're
Unless they
supposed to
ask
sit
you
in your
until
car
they
unless
get
they
out of
tell
it.
you to get out of
Yeah.
your car, right?
So yeah, so I don't know. So
But I don't know, some guy with obscure plates or obstructed or whatever. I don't think the cops would be asking him to get out of his car. Just guessing.
yeah,
It'd
well,
be like-
he was cited for operation of an unregistered vehicle, driving with the expired registration, and the display of plate penalties. So I think we have that in Mass too, because I had a border around my plate one time, and when I went to go get it inspected the following year, they said that's got to go. Why? State law. Okay.
Yeah, I know. I've seen some of
And
them
usually-
that are really dark, and
Yeah,
it's like, you got to be kidding me.
Some
huh?
of the car dealers put their name on that plate
Yeah.
thing that goes around your license plate,
Right.
and so it's advertising for them. But no, it's got to go.
I had the same thing
Okay.
happen. Well, mine was plastic from the dealership, and it was a dealership that's no longer in existence. It was Majestic
Yeah.
down on the highway. But they said no, it had to come off. But it wasn't I don't think in this particular case it was any border. I think it was a glass or plastic covering that darkens the plate to such an extent that if you're in the car behind it, you can't really read the registration plate on the
Right.
vehicle.
Then why do you want this in
Anonymity, you don't want people to know who you are.
You're a bad guy.
Well, you're not
come on,
somebody
Joe.
who paid extra for the vanity plates, that's for sure.
Right.
Is he because I'm a football star?
Oh, I don't know
that,
why he'd want
I don't
it.
want people following me and figuring out who I am because he's got his last name on his license plate.
Yeah, first of all, he's not a star. But second of all, it's like I don't know, and I don't know why anybody does it, except that usually my first thought is, what are you hiding? Why are you? Because I've seen some dark ones that it's just, you think at night these things are invisible, and so it's like, what are you trying to pull? But then you've got the other things now, the plate readers, whether it's a speeding camera or whether it's and if they don't work, if they don't catch you, you're just trying to get away with something. Why else would you have it?
I don't know. I've seen those that are like light blue
Yeah.
on the back of license plate, and I'm like, oh well, okay. And then you think about it later. I said, I don't know why you have that.
Maybe it's to avoid tolls, because if they have the automatic machines which register tolls, such as on the
Right, if they
Massachusetts
can't read your
Turnpike,
plate.
and they can't read your plate,
But now it sounds like that's illegal.
Oh, it is.
it is.
Oh, okay. Now I got it. All right. I don't know.
Well, no, there are some states where there's no covering at all allowed, and then there are some states that don't seem to mind, and I don't remember exactly which is which, but
To know which state
but
you're in.
but
what allows what.
Yeah.
We
All
gotta
right.
go outside and look at Joe's car and see what he's got on it.
And see how dark his covering is.
I'm perfectly legal. I've seen that on other shows. Your windows are too dark.
Yes,
They're tinted
same thing.
Too dark. And I'm like, well, if you've got your car windows tinted like in Rhode Island, wouldn't the people tinting the windows know we can only go so
They should
far?
absolutely know
We
that.
can't go to 10 degrees black. We only can go to 5.
Yes. You would think that that's the case. It's
Well,
like
yeah.
we're in Rhode Island and we're allowed to do this, and that's that. And but it's also just, I mean, the tinting thing for me is, it's on a bright day, I suppose it's a nice extra set of sunglasses.
guess, all right.
But then nighttime comes, and it's like you can't see. And,
I hope no one gets in my way. All right, we're going to take our first break here on the Coffee and program. More coming your way. Comments and questions can be called in at 766-1240.
Krakow Deli Bakery Smokehouse offers authentic homemade Polish food to make your next meal special. Try our many varieties of hot and fresh pierogies with onions and what they call dirty sour cream. Or pick up golubki, kielbasa, babkas, or some fresh rye bread. We also offer a large selection of specialty and imported foods. Open Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays, 9 in the morning till 6 p.m., Wednesdays, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., Saturdays from 8 to 5 p.m. It's Krakow Deli Bakery Smokehouse. Follow us on Facebook and learn about our weekly specials. Located at 855 Social Street, Woonsocket, Krakow Deli Bakery Smokehouse has all the authentic Polish foods you love.
The Coffee and Panel is enjoying coffee from Down East Coffee Roasters. All their coffee is roasted right here in Rhode Island. Down East Coffee Roasters is available at all Little General stores.
Have you heard of Scott McGee with Remax Properties? He's been selling real estate in Rhode Island and Massachusetts for the last 17 years, and you can see that he loves what he does. Scott, as well as his team, take pride in what they call the fair and honest team. No gimmicks. And no, they're not buying your house if it doesn't sell, etc. Just fair and honest real estate. Scott personally works with tons of sellers and buyers and specializes in residential properties as well as commercial, and he's always very fair and offers super competitive rates. Remember, this is probably the biggest move in dollars that you will ever spend or receive. You want to go with a trusted and experienced agent. Scott is fair, honest, and modest, always puts the clients first. And he also dealt with literally almost any situation. You really need to look at your real estate needs as a business. You want to pay and get the right money now so that you're not paying for it later. Trust me. So why not give Scott McGee a call at 401-639-2906. That's 401-639-2906.
This portion of the Coffee and program is sponsored by the Blackstone Valley Call-in Times.
You've heard it before. The world is getting smaller. Places you had to travel to years ago now seem right next door. It's no surprise, then, that all the communities of the Blackstone Valley have so much in common these days that we share common interests. Keeping up with this trend, the Blackstone Valley's two daily newspapers, The Call and The Times, have joined forces to cover the entire valley in one convenient newspaper. The Blackstone Valley's Call and Times, a paper for the entire valley. At your local store, honor box, or home delivery, 767-8522.
All right, it is Coffee and here on ONAM and FM. Thanks for joining us this morning. My name's Joe Callahan, here with Bob Lauder and Tom Ward. Sue Tesser McKenzie could not be with us this week. So just, we brought it up yesterday, just thoughts on, is Hasbro really serious about leaving and going to Boston? Or are they just...
Personal opinion?
Your personal opinion, or are they playing Rhode Island for something better?
I think they're leaving. I think they're not kidding. I think
the
first time was a warning, and they've tried, and they made their best of it. They took that space in downtown Providence near the, what do you call it now, the Amica Center.
Amica Mutual Pavilion.
They did. I think they did their best, but I think they've outgrown. I don't mean just new space, but they're connected to Hollywood now. They're just a bigger player, and I think they can't. And so my guess is that they're as good as gone unless they can, like I said, what's changed in the last 5 years? Well, Apex is finally gone. So unless the state can figure out some way to say, we will help you build a completely new, beautiful, modern campus on the river in Pawtucket, across from the soccer stadium, something like that.
Do you think they'd want that? Do you think they'd want to go where Apex is?
I don't know, but that's a nice spot on the river, and it's something,
Right.
I mean, there's been a lot. The Breeze had a story a couple of months ago, no more, about how Mayor Grebian and the city had finally patched together all of these pieces of property that, you bulldoze them all, and it's really quite a significant piece of property that can be done something with. But my first instinct when I heard it, 5 years later, they're threatening again, was they're gone. I don't think there's any reason to stay, except they're going to Boston, and we were alluding to it earlier. It's expensive up there, and so you've got all your Pawtucket employees, or Pawtucket area employees, either going to have a much longer commute. You've got the train for them if you want, depending
It's
on
going to be
whether...
right near South Station, so it's...
Is it?
Yes.
Is that okay? Well, then, so you've got the train, or you force them to move into much more expensive homes, which nobody wants to do that. Some do, but then they just talk about having a more modern and fun and enjoyable life for the employees because they're in a hipper city like Boston. I think they're ready to go. I think they gave it their best shot. As a new CEO, I think the old CEO who tried to stay in Rhode Island has passed away, and so I think they got a new CEO. And so I think they're very serious, and I think it would take. I don't think they're just doing it to say, okay, Rhode Island, how much money are you going to give us? I don't think they're doing it.
right.
I think they're sort of like.
It's more of an image
I do.
issue.
I do. Yeah, and that's a good way of putting it. Is just as a matter of fact, I'm surprised they're not looking, other than the employees all being here, that they're not looking more toward, I don't know, middle of the country or Texas or something where they have a bit more Hollywood vibe to it. They're not going to go to California. That's too big, but you kind of blow up the workforce if you move, beyond Boston. So.
Thoughts on that, Bob, about Hasbro?
Well, I thought it was more of an image thing. I didn't think it was necessarily the money, although I'm not familiar with what the tax rates are in the two areas. But I also was thinking that Boston doesn't, to me, have the convenience that almost anywhere in Rhode Island does. I realize they have the trains and the tea and stuff like that, but just the same, traveling to Boston is usually pretty much of a nightmare for anybody on the highways. And I thought that anything in Rhode Island was probably going to be a lot more convenient for virtually any kind of communication in reality, in person. And also, a lot more work is being done at home now. And I was wondering, are they downsizing their overall corporate structure so they need less physical offices? And if that's so, why would they move to Boston on that issue?
That's starting to turn around, by the way, and come back. And companies now don't want remote workers from home. They want them all to come back to the office again.
Yeah.
Well, I wonder a little bit about that because a lot of remote work you can oversee as the level of productivity. How much are you actually doing? So the concept of, well, they're staying at home and they're not doing as much work and they're still getting paid the same amount of money may or may not be accurate if you look toward the productivity of what they're actually turning out.
Yeah,
We got a note called in on this issue, and going to Boston works better for them because you keep talking about Hollywood, and there are no direct flights. This is what the note caller says: no direct flights from TF Green to California. Logan Airport does.
sure.
And if you're going to be in South Boston, Logan's right around the corner. You're very close to Logan Airport.
How often do
but how
the
lo-
executives from Hasbro have to fly to California or fly anywhere?
I'm not sure, but I know of a person whose family members work there, and they're flying this person to Vietnam.
All right.
So
How
they're flying
often
people once a year. I don't know how often they have to go out to California, but it's just you want your convenient nonstop flights, and that's what's out of Logan, and it's probably cheaper too than. If you're going to go to Green, you may have to make 2 stops to make it to California. I don't know.
Okay. Well, if I
Call
had
us
the
frequently,
the choice of
they're making a lot of flights.
driving to Logan maybe once a week to take a flight somewhere, or driving up to Boston on a daily basis to go to work, I think I would probably take the once a week flight to Logan and not move up in the Boston area.
Okay.
Yeah, I can't imagine. Like Bob, I can't imagine this is done over flights. I mean, I just don't see
No, it's just
that
one
many
aspect.
people. I mean, it is one aspect, and it's an important aspect, and the CEO gets to make the choice. But and to your point, we were saying what's changed in the last 5 years, and that's the big one. The pandemic came, and the whole work from home thing. And that's what I was wondering is are they thinking of actually having a smaller footprint up in Boston, and people working, because people can still work from home, and some do. I mean, it depends on the job. On the one hand, you want to have a company culture and training, and that involves people having to be in the office, learning the company culture, learning, training. But on the other hand, you've got the the effectiveness of people working for her. You know, my daughter's a good worker. I trust her entirely, completely. Her company is settled right now on the 3 and 2, or the 4 and 1, and they're very happy with it. And I ask my daughter all the time, and she goes, "Oh my God, Dad, that comes down to one word: meetings. Meetings are interminable and useless." And she's like, "When I'm at home, I get so much more done."
Really? Okay.
She goes, "I am far more effective at home." Now, I still need to, stick with the company culture and go to work 3 days a week, and I meet everybody and we talk what we're working on. But then and just think of in your career, and of course I was the publisher, so I could close the door and just work, but not everyone else could, and I remember meetings. We'd have weekly meetings with my management team, and sometimes you'd derail and stuff. And it got to a point where thankfully they put the timer on the iPhone, and I'd be like, "Look, we're having a 1-hour meeting." They turned into an hour and a half, and I would say, "Cool." I'm like, "That's it." I said, "These meetings are going to kill us here. We're wasting time, and one person would be like this." And I mean, they were important meetings. They were planning sessions. We have a special section coming out in a month. What do we need to do next week for that? What do we need to? Everything was planning. And but I finally got to a point where it's like, okay, well, there's 5 of us here, so we each got 10 minutes. And here I would lay out an agenda, and I'd hand out the agenda, and I'd put 5, 10, and it's like, that's how many minutes we're talking about this, and then we're done.
Move it on.
And then we're done, because this meeting ends in 1 hour. Meetings are brutal. Well, most people don't run a meeting the way I run a meeting, and so they my daughter will be like, "Oh my God, we're 3 hours in, and it's like, somebody kill me." And,
That's a long time.
And this happens, and she says, and okay, so we cross-pollinated and kicked around some ideas, but she's like, I could have done that in much less time with that person who knows what they're talking about, and that person who knows what they're talking about, and then just go back to my desk and gotten it done. And so she, so the companies are still figuring that out, but to the Hasbro point, maybe they've sort of figured out the right way to do things. Because I'm starting to wonder, like you, I wonder if maybe they don't need quite as big a building and quite as big a footprint, and that's.
Well, they must be flying off to Vietnam because that's where the production's being done.
Is it being done there now? Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm thinking. And we've got to go and check on it.
Could be.
I used to work for a company, by the way, where if someone, one of the managers would call for what he called a quick meeting, and this is how we're going to make it a quick meeting. No one sits down. This worked out so
That's
well.
A very good idea.
He sat down and go, and you stood there.
Yeah.
You said your piece. Okay, we're done. 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And out the door. Quick meeting.
That's a good thought.
That's a great way of doing
it. It is.
Only one company I've worked for, that's the way it was done.
Think of the money I could have saved on chairs and wow.
Wow. You as the boss,
I could have had one chair and a conference table.
Bringing everybody. No one. When someone sits down, stand back up.
What are you doing? What do you think you're doing?
This is a quick meeting. So, all right. Up in Massachusetts, Bob, the ACLU. They back Karen Reed's appeal to the state's highest court. They're still trying to get this her conviction, the charges thrown out.
Okay.
Before the next trial starts. So the ACLU has filed a brief with the state's highest court supporting Karen Reed's effort to have 2 of the 3 charges against her dismissed.
Did it say the reason why?
Because they're the ACLU.
Well, not necessarily. There must be a
'cause
legal basis for what they're filing.
There is. Karen Reed. She's being set up. I'm sorry. I'm completely on her side. The whole thing should be thrown out.
It just says the ACLU says retrying her on the 2 not guilty counts is double jeopardy.
Right.
And the judge was hasty in declaring a mistrial.
Right. The judge declared him. The jury came back and said we have a problem, and so she sent him back, and they came back and said we have a problem. Now the public did not know this at this time, so she declared a mistrial. Now, she knew declaring a mistrial, she can do all this all over again. Then the jurors came back and went to the public, as a juror can talk to the public and talk to the media, and they came out and they said 2 out of 3. It was 12-zip. It was like she's not guilty. 2 out of 3 of them not guilty. Everyone agreed. But 1 out of 3, we had this problem. The judge declared a mistrial, and they can bring all the charges back again. And
But they didn't say that to the judge in the courtroom. They didn't say we have a verdict on two of these, and we're unanimous in finding her not guilty.
And that's where your legal mind, I understand exactly what you're saying, and you're right. So I can't counter that. You're right. You're saying it didn't happen in court, therefore. And that would beg the question, was the judge trying to get to the place, it was a woman, right? The place she wanted to be, where, I don't want to say she's in on it, man, but I'll tell you, it really stinks. This whole trial stinks. Where it's like, no, it's like we're gonna hurt this woman until we finally get her. But oh my God, it was 12 out of 12 and then 11 out of 12, and they're proceeding with another trial again. First of all, if I'm a taxpayer, I'm furious. There's so much evidence against these dirty cops. The fact that the Massachusetts, whoever the colonel is in the Massachusetts State Police.
Well, it's changed.
Yeah, you got to have where's the governor on this? It's like you need to be rolling heads on this. This is so embarrassing.
She did. She hired somebody new for the state police.
Filthy. It's not all the state police, obviously, but there are some really bad actors here, and this thing stinks to high heaven. And I don't know, but your point is well taken, that it didn't happen in court, therefore it didn't happen.
I didn't follow the evidence in the trial, but when you kept saying it was dirty cops, what is the criteria? What's the basis for making the statement? What do you think they did wrong?
There's a lot of evidence of a frame in this, and of framing her up to
make it look like
she killed this guy, and there's other cops' involvement, terrible investigation practices. And it's all just this.
Can you give some specifics on
No,
any
I
of this?
can't. It's been a few months since I read these details, but
it's got a lot to do with saying that she ran him over with the car, but he doesn't have injuries consistent with being hit by a car. It looks like he was beat up, and they can't.
All right.
Say, well, how did she do that? Well, it looks like she didn't do that. And see, she said she dropped him off and drove home in a snowstorm.
Okay.
And then all of a sudden,
and who was the person Googling? How long does it take a body to die? In freezing weather or something. That
could have been one of the cops.
One of the cops, yeah. How long to die? And
Before or after the incident took place?
It was after the incident.
After the incident. Yeah. In other words, It's like we dumped him off in a snowstorm. How long is it going to be before he's dead?
And they don't want the cops to, because it's other cops that would be convicted of this crime if it's true.
Right, the cops.
They're covering each other. And, okay, let's try to blame it on her. That's the whole premise of the thing. We got to take a break though here in the Coffee and program, and more is coming your way. This portion of Coffee and has been sponsored by the Blackstone Valley Call-in Times.
You've heard it before. The world is getting smaller. Places you had to travel to years ago now seem right next door. It's no surprise, then, that all the communities of the Blackstone Valley have so much in common these days that we share common interests. Keeping up with this trend, the Blackstone Valley's two daily newspapers, The Call and The Times, have joined forces to cover the entire valley in one convenient newspaper. The Blackstone Valley's Call and Times, a paper for the entire valley. At your local store, honor box, or home delivery, 767-8522.
This weather forecast is being brought to you by AutoZone. Get in the zone.
Sunny skies and a high of 57 with a breeze from the northeast. Tonight, clear skies, overnight low of 41. Friday's weather, sunshine and 59. Saturday, sunshine and 68. Sunday, sunny and 72. Monday, sunny and 76. Tuesday, sunny and 75. And next Wednesday, mostly sunny skies and a high of 72 degrees.
Currently outside the Navigant Credit Union broadcast studio at the corner of Park Ave and Kennedy Street with sunny skies. We have 41 degrees. It's time to say goodnight to that check engine light. With the free AutoZone Fix Finder service, it'll help troubleshoot the likely cause of your light for free. Restrictions apply. Get in the zone. AutoZone.
Hello, good morning. My name is Ben Cardoza, and I'm running for mayor in the city of Woonsocket. Now, you're not going to find my name on the ballot on November 5th. I'm a write-in. I want to breathe new life back into the city. We need to fix the smell at the wastewater treatment plant. I want to bring more businesses back to Diamond Hill and Walnut Hill, especially a grocery store. And I'd like to bring a boxing gym here for the kids, along with comedy shows and new restaurants for everyone to enjoy. Now, I'm a write-in. My name is not going to be on the ballot, so you have to write me in. But if you want America's first rapping mayor, then write me in. Ben Cardozo or Benjamin Cardoza. Cardoza for the win to be the new mayor of Woonsocket. This ad was paid for by Ben Cardoza.
Are you ready to unleash your creativity and connect with nature? Welcome to the Honey Shop Academy, where discovery meets delight. The Honey Shop Academy is in the same building as the famous Honey Shop store on Park Avenue, next door to Navigant Credit Union, and they offer a variety of exciting programs and private classes, perfect for groups of 10 to 15 people. And whether you're looking for a fun night out or a unique team-building experience, they've got something for you at the Honey Shop Academy. Join us for unforgettable paint nights where you can sip on your favorite beverage and let your inner artist shine, or unwind in our serene meditation and sound baths, perfect for rejuvenating your mind and spirit. Experience the joy of learning together at the Honey Shop Academy on Park Avenue in Woonsocket, where every class is sweet and every moment is memorable. Looking at the entertainment menu at Chan's tomorrow night, it'll be Friday, October 18th, and at 8 p.m., Earl Nightwood Band will be playing at Chan's Four-Season Banquet Room, the six-piece music group, which has a rich history of professional experience and musical talents, led by guitarist Ed Valley and keyboardist Frank Rapone, an alum of Steve Smith and the Nakeds, by the way. Tickets are $12 in advance, $15 at the door for Earl Nightwood Band Friday night. Saturday night at 8 p.m. in the banquet room. It's Forever Young, this talented supergroup devotees of folk rock legends Neil Young and Joni Mitchell. The cover turns from Neil to Joni's long career with brilliant interpretation and enthusiasm, led by the multi-instrumentalist John Fusick. 25 in advance, 30 at the door at Chan's. And oh, by the way, they got great food there too at Chan's, 267 Main Street, Woonsocket.
It's Coffee and on ON Radio. This is Joe Callahan here with Tom Ward and Bob Lauder. And Bob, time for a first message from your law office, please.
Thank you. Good morning. This is Attorney Bob Lauder. I'd like to talk to you this morning about that elusive mirage-like character who frequently appears in court and who is never personally identified.
Donald Trump?
Whoa, man.
Jeez.
No? Oh, okay. Keep
Let
going.
the man do his ad.
Keep going, Bob.
Jeez, man. And you're, oh, golly. The character is the reasonable, prudent person. The reasonable, prudent person is a standard whereby much of liability in torts is decided. One of the earliest cases reciting this criteria is that of Vaughan versus Menlove, and was decided in England back in 1837. The case began when the defendant, a farmer, built a hay rick, that is a large pile of hay, a haystack, not far from the cottages of the plaintiffs. The haystack caught fire and damaged the cottages. The cottage owners sued the farmer and alleged that the defendant had been negligent in placing the hay rick close to their property. The trial judge instructed the jury to find in favor of the plaintiffs if the jury had to determine that the farmer had been guilty of gross negligence. Upon appeal, it was determined that gross negligence was a standard too uncertain to afford any criteria. However, the appellate judge wrote that although the defendant himself did not light the fire, he was as much the cause of it as if he had put a candle to the rick, for it is well known that hay will ferment and take fire if it's not carefully stacked. The knowledge was imputed to the farmer and was the standard for the reasonable, prudent man. Unless the injury were occasioned by an act which a prudent person could not have foreseen, the care taken by the prudent person has always been one of the rules laid down in tort litigation. If you think my office may be of assistance to you in legal matters, please call me for an appointment. My name is Bob Lauder. My telephone number is 762-4550. And the disclaimer: the Supreme Court of Rhode Island licenses all attorneys in the general practice of law. The court does not license or certify any attorney as an expert or specialist in any field of practice. Thank you.
So the moral of the story is, Bob, you don't light your haystack on fire? Is that what it comes down to?
You're careful when you pile up the hay.
Just don't pile it near the neighbor's house.
Now, what is this about bringing in the former president as a...
He's the prudent man.
I think he was saying he's always in
He's
court.
just always in court.
all right. Okay.
He's just always there for some reason. All right. You know, there's...
You're not letting us get into the... Okay.
Into the what? Into what?
into the deep discussion about our political philosophies
No.
concerning the.
2 weeks before the election? Please, no.
Okay, all right.
Although
It's
my
not.
wife
It's,
voted early.
I was going to say it is the election. It
Yeah.
just started yesterday in Cumberland, and I expect I'll be voting today or tomorrow.
All
My
right.
wife did as well. She went down to City Hall and cast her vote. And
We did the whole mail-in thing. Vote at home.
So
send the
do you
right
live in
envelopes, mail it on.
Woonsocket?
yes,
So Ben was too late to the.
well,
the
it was
effort.
for my
Yeah,
wife, but
Yeah, that's
not-
no
but
for
he
for
can
yeah.
still
I
No,
know.
no, for you
there
you
you go.
can, but I'm just saying it was good of him to advertise now because it's the beginning of the process.
The
It's
voting time, sure.
No, I like to go actually be at the polling place and meet the people outside with the various signs and things like that. I think it's fun.
I avoid them.
Oh,
Avoid eye contact.
well, I'll be one of them. So thanks for nothing.
I don't vote where you'll be. So, all right. There are many jobs that I would not want to have, and although
Yeah, but
they
have you
are,
told
they
your
are
boss?
lucrative. Well, yeah, but one of them is I would never want to be the head of the MBTA.
Oh my God.
Mr. Eng up there, who I'm sure is making 6 figures or 7
Oh,
figures. He has to be.
six, well into six. I'm
All right.
sure.
But now they have another issue. And one of the a transit bus in Boston last Saturday, a man was struck by an MBTA bus last Saturday. He's died from his injuries. Hit by the bus at Forest Hills Station in Jamaica Plain. And then I heard the Green Line derailed again because it was going 35 and a 10.
That'll do
These
it.
are the headaches that this guy has got to go through every single day
Yeah.
to try to get this thing functioning and financially better.
And then the snowstorms. Imagine that job if you're
I
just.
can't.
It's like you see the forecast and you're like, ugh, here it comes.
If it's not too cold, it's too hot,
Yeah.
and the rails are expanding and
Yep.
contracting, and the trains don't like it, and it's like,
Oh, that's
boy,
yeah.
I would just
you also
not
know
like
it's a
this
job where you're going to hear lots of criticism.
Oh,
but very
yes.
seldom do you see a headline in the paper that says
Things went
MBTA
right."
is running fine.
Doing a great job.
Yeah,
doing a great job.
No,
Yeah.
you never hear that. You always hear the bad things. I think that would be.
It reminds me of that it's an old Rodney Dangerfield joke. When I was Rodney said I would leave my house, my wife would always say, "Give me a call if something goes right."
Just about.
Hey, well, I'll say something. I was 1 week ago. I took the Amtrak to New York City and back, and I have to say it was comfortable, not horribly expensive. I didn't take the.
you get on in
I didn't take
Providence?
the Acela. No, we get on in Kingston because it was
Okay.
because my sister-in-law, who does it more than me, said, "Well, it's free parking, so just come to Kingston,
okay.
then you'll park the car for free." And we were on. It's not the local. It's an express or something, but it's not the Acela.
How many stops does it
But
make?
it was about 5 or 6 stops,
Okay.
but they were quick stops, and so you know, I think it only added maybe 20 minutes to the Acela time, which is not a big deal.
So
and
3
so it was
hours?
3.25 hours.
Okay, that's not bad.
And you know, takes you right to Madison Square Garden,
Yeah, Penn
Penn
Station.
Station, Madison Square Garden, and it was like, okay, that's pretty good, and that's not a bad thing. Now I'll tell you what I went for if you
Sure.
It's a long way to go for a concert, but Barry
Wow.
Manilow was in concert, his wrap-up tour.
At
And
Madison
he was
Square
he
Garden?
was at Radio City.
Oh,
he did
okay.
5 shows at Radio City, and it started with a conversation with my wife. Just about Manilow for years had done a residency in Las Vegas, and we were talking about going on. And I said, I don't even know what he does anymore. Where does he tour? Oh, I know. It was about a year or two ago. I think he came through Providence, and my wife was like, "Why didn't you mention that? Why didn't you tell me that? I would have gone to that." And we both like him, so I said, "Well, you know, I just didn't think." So, and it's not the same as it used to be. You'd pick up a Providence Journal and you'd look at the living section and you'd see all the things that
That
were
are coming,
coming.
yeah.
And it's
Oh,
like you
no.
don't see it if you're not
You gotta
if you're not
search on the
doing
internet.
the phone thing
Yeah.
all the time. You don't know. And so, so anyway. So I started poking around, and I said, "Well, look, he's on what he's calling his final tour, and he's 80 years old now." And I said, "Well, you know, the closest he's coming is Radio City." She goes, "Let's do it." And I said, "Oh, really?" And you know, because we're busy with watching our grandkids and stuff, and I said, "Well, it is there. In theory, you can go and go in the morning."
How far is Radio City Music Hall from Penn Station?
Walking distance?
8 blocks. No big. 20 minutes.
Oh, okay.
It was not a big deal. But we walked to the hotel. The hotel was roughly in the area, a couple of blocks away, maybe 4 or 5 blocks. So it was a bit of walking too, and that was fine. I will say this: what we saw of New York City was not so bad. You know, there's a lot of reports that, oh my God, it was not bad. There was a couple of homeless around, but nothing
A couple
terrible.
of homeless around here.
Right. It was nothing. It was nothing terrible.
Yeah.
So it was. I mean, we were walking during the day for the most part, but it was fine, and it was a very enjoyable evening, and he was good. I give him credit. I had seen him since on a CBS interview, and he was just saying, "I like doing it." He says, "This is my final tour." He says, "I'm 80." He says, "I don't need the money. I don't need." He says, "But the audience is
Still come out.
I'm lucky." He says, "The audience still loves me, and I still love them. I don't need the money, but so we're putting together this tour, and it's a fine." And it was actually it was a wonderful show. He's still got it, not like he did when he was
But he's
25,
still
but
got
he
the talent to play the piano.
he still has the piano and the good voice, and but he just had a great story too. I don't know how much time he got, but about his grandfather, and it was wonderful. You know, it was like his mom, I guess, a single mom, so he lived with grandpa and grandma, and he said, "I don't know how my grandfather recognized in me a musical
Talent.
ability and he would say, I was only 5 years old, and he says he'd walk me, because he was from Brooklyn, and he says we'd come into Manhattan every Saturday. It cost 25 cents. You'd put a thing in, you'd make your own record."
Yeah, and stores
And he
used
said
to do
he'd
that.
have
yeah.
me sing "Happy Birthday," and I was shy, and he's like, da da da, and so they're playing this scratchy thing. He says, "I kept it," and he still has it.
Wow.
And they're playing this scratchy thing, and it was a sweet story. It really was. And he's talking about how his grandfather basically was the guy who did it for him. And he says, Mandy had just become a hit, and there was another one that was on the way of becoming a hit, and I got to play Carnegie Hall. And he said, my grandfather was in the front row, and he says he's just standing up and cheering, and nobody else around him. He says, and he's like, "That's my grandson." But he had gone to Juilliard and stuff, and he's
Wow.
he's an exceptional songwriter, and then a talent in his own right singing. But it was just a great story about how moms and dads and fathers and can touch something that no one else realizes. And he's like, I wouldn't
Realize
have
it.
known.
Yeah.
He says, I could have gone through life not knowing. And he said, but my grandfather was like, nope, we're gonna work with this, and it was a signature of his life. And it's
So you're
great story.
you're a Fanilow.
I am a fan of
That's what
Lowe.
the
I always
fans of
have
Barry
been.
Manilow called
Oh,
Fanilows.
I'm more, I apologize to those, but I like Manilow and I like Led Zeppelin.
right.
It's like there was a lot of really good stuff going on in the 60s and 70s, and I liked all of it. I liked rock, and I never liked metal. Once it got into metal, I'm like, I'm done here.
Did he do the Copacabana? I know it was a monster hit, but
Excuse me.
I always heard he never really liked it. But his record company said, "You got to come out with a disco song."
Yeah, you got to do something.
Fine.
Yeah,
He put it out,
probably.
and it became a huge hit. He really doesn't like it.
Yeah, well, it was his finale actually.
Was
so
it? Oh, okay.
maybe if we hadn't cheered loud enough, he'd get away with not doing it. but it was the finale, and people like
Loved
it.
it.
They
Sure.
love it, and it was good. The show was very good.
Well,
I
good.
have
I'm
to
glad
say.
you have a good time. It is a long way to go for a concert.
It is a long way to
New
go.
York City.
That's a record, I think. Yeah, that's the longest I've ever gone to go to a concert.
You talk about, you used to open up the Providence Journal to the living section and find out what was going on. Now you have to go to each individual venue and sign up for their newsletter or whatever they call it. So now you get emails from the PPAC or the AMP or the Stadium Theater.
Right.
And that's how you find out what's going on where.
Right. And it's a lot. It's a lot to plow through. And
Yes.
and I know I have to believe artificial intelligence will come, and it may be here already, where it's like, tell us the kind of stuff you like, or tell us there's got to be a way that it would just be like, just list your favorite artists and click, and we'll let you know when they're doing something, and your zip code. And we'll let you know when they're doing something within 100 miles or something like
Yeah.
that.
You can do that already.
I got
Like Ticketmaster will do that.
Yeah.
Who do you like, and how far from
How far will you travel?
Do you want to know about where they are?
Yeah.
And then they'll send you emails. Oh,
Barry Manilow is going to be in New York City. That's
Yeah.
about as close as it's come. Now you make the call.
Now
if
you
wanna
make
go.
yeah, exactly, and that's the kind of stuff. But it's not just that. There's so many other things that you want to know about.
Oh, yeah.
That it's just hard, and it's not. It used to be simpler. I mean, especially like I said in the Providence Journal, it was also movies. What are the movies coming? I've completely lost track of movies. I just occasionally stumble on something, and it's too bad because when we finally go to a movie, they'll have pretty good previews, and it's like I want to see that, and it comes and it goes, and it's like whatever happened to that? So.
All right, we're going to take a break here in the Coffee and program. And, Bob, it is time for a second message from your law office. So any more burning haystacks stories?
Not as burning haystack. Good morning. This is Attorney Bob Lauder. The case I'd like to discuss with you earlier this morning went back about 175 years. I'd like to discuss with you a slightly more recent case, one decided about 100 years after the first case, but which may have more pertinence to us. And that's the case of Dallaire versus McAdoo. And it arose when the defendant was operating in a motor vehicle along a highway. The defendant was passing the vehicle of the plaintiff when the left rear tire of the defendant's car suffered a blowout, and the car swerved into that of the plaintiff. This was in 1936, when car tires had rubber inner tubes. At the trial, the plaintiff said that after the accident, he could see that the tire on the vehicle of the defendant was extremely worn, and the repairman who replaced the tire described the nature of the wear. The defendant contradicted the evidence of the plaintiff that the tire was worn. The defendant contended that the issue of the tire should have been established by expert testimony. The appellate court disagreed. The court wrote, "A jury is just as well qualified to pass judgment as to the risk of danger in the condition of an article in universal use under a given state of facts as are experts. Daily use of motor vehicles is a common daily factor and requires a certain amount of knowledge of the movable parts, particularly the tires. It's imperative that a duty or standard of care be set up that will be productive of safety for other uses of the highway. All drivers must be held to a knowledge of these facts. An owner or operator cannot escape because he says he did not know. He must know. He must be the reasonable, prudent man. If you think my office may be of legal assistance to you in matters, please call me for an appointment. My name is Bob Lauder. My telephone number is 762-4550. And the disclaimer, the Supreme Court of Rhode Island licenses all attorneys in the general practice of law. The court does not license or certify any attorney as an expert or specialist in any field of practice. Thank you.
Thanks, Bob. And the Coffee and program will continue here on ON Radio.
For an Allstate agent, providing protection options that fit your life is something they take, well, personally. Allstate agents are committed to learning about your needs and helping customize protection to meet them. From bundling your home and auto insurance with ease to evaluating optional coverage, your Allstate agent can help build an insurance proposal that fits your life. And just as important as learning what you need is learning what you don't. Because helping you get coverage you want with savings you deserve is what Allstate is all about. It's time to get coverage that's catered to you. Are you in good hands? Call Kara and Celeste Benjamin at the Benjamin Agency. One agency, two locations in North Smithfield and Bellingham. One telephone number, 765-5000. Subject to terms, conditions, and availability. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and Allstate Property and Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, Northbrook, Illinois.
Celebrate St. James CYO and Youth Ministry in Manville, Rhode Island. In honor of the parish's 150th anniversary, a CYO and Youth Ministry open house reunion will be held on Sunday, October 27th from 1 to 4 p.m. in the parish gym. Reconnect with friends and relive your favorite memories from sports, dances, plays, singing in the choir, and more. For more information, visit stjamesmanville.org. That's SAINT, jamesmanville.org. Don't miss out. Spread the word and celebrate with us.
Coffee and on ON AM and FM. Thanks for joining us. Joe Callahan here with Bob Lauder, and Tom Ward is here as well. And Bob, this is what you got to get into, because this is what, it's sports related in a way, but this is where the
Sports
money.
related.
This is where the money is. Okay.
Okay.
Just listen to this story. The bidding for Shohei Ohtani's historic 50-50 ball is up to $1.7 million. The Los Angeles Dodgers star hit the ball for a home run in Miami last month. He becomes the first player in Major League Baseball history to hit 50 home runs and steal 50 bases in the same season. That's where the whole 50-50 thing comes in. Now, a fan caught the ball out there, and he didn't give it back to Ohtani. He's selling it.
Okay.
He's selling it through Golden Auctions. Goldin. Golden Auctions. Okay. The Dodgers reportedly went to him and said, "We'll give you $300,000 for the ball." And he said no. He thinks he can get more money on the auction.
A lot of that.
We're up to $1.75 million.
A lot of that, I would imagine, depends on the provenance of the actual ball. I mean, proving that this is the one that was used,
Yeah,
because
I don't know how
I would
that's done.
imagine that somebody else could claim, well, I have
Well, that's it.
And,
And this is where it comes in for you. Meanwhile, there is still a legal battle taking place about who owns the ball. 2 people have filed lawsuits claiming it is rightfully theirs. I had it, and you took it from me, and it's changing hands out there in the stands. But imagine being one of the lawyers that you know how much money you'd be making defending or going out in one of these legal battles for who owns the ball.
well, I would imagine if you're one of the ones representing a claimant, you might be on a retainer that says you'll get a percentage of the winnings, but
get
if
it.
you don't win,
You get nothing.
you're not getting a whole lot of money.
Well,
right.
it's a roll of the dice, isn't it?
But after the ball gets sold, and I think you'd have to have a real careful history of what happens to it in order for, say, 5 years from now, for you to be able to offer the ball and say, this is it. Because
if you sell
any-
it through the auction company,
Right.
you're going to get the ball. And if you buy it, you'll get the ball, and
right.
you'll get a piece of something, a piece of paper from the auction company authenticating.
Right,
Great.
the
This is
authenticated,
the
right.
50th home run hit by Shohei Ohtani on this date at this ballpark. We guarantee this is it.
5 years from now,
Yeah.
I place a baseball on an auction,
Yeah.
and I say, yes, I'm the guy who bought the ball 5 years ago, and here's the certificate. But baseballs probably look a lot alike. And so how do you know that this is really the one that was used as opposed to a substitute, and then I have another one
don't
that I
know.
can use? A lot of that.
DNA of the cowhide. No, I don't know. Good question. Good.
I don't participate in these auctions. I don't want any of this memorabilia. I'm one of those guys. If I caught the ball in the outfield, I would have given it back to. This is not mine. This is your ball. You got it. Here. I don't want
Honesty
I'd
is going
probably
to kill you, man.
I know it.
I'd probably sell it for the $300,000, and because you want the Dodgers to have it, and you want
I
it to
want
wind
Ohtani
up
to
in
have it, yeah.
well, Ohtani or the Baseball Hall of Fame. Well, if Ohtani gets it, let him pay me
Well, maybe it should go to
$6
the Hall
million.
of Fame.
But it should wind up in the Hall of Fame, and so that's
It's a baseball.
yeah.
Yeah.
They used
point.
hundreds of them during a season. I mean,
But this one's special.
big deal.
Oh, he's such not. That's Bob Sports.
I
thinking,
know.
yeah? Okay.
I know.
Anyway,
I have a 2004. It is the second prize of my collection, and I do not spend much, or I am too cheap and too frugal. But I have 2 things in my life that are special, and one of them is my 2004 fully signed, full team Red Sox
Sox
World
baseball.
Series. Yeah.
wow.
And no,
Hang on to that.
I think it's going to go down in value. I hate to say, because I think I paid about $3,000 for it, and I told my wife, I said, it's the only thing I want. Don't bug me. And she was like, nope, I get it. And, she was a Red Sox fan too. Not
But
as
that's signed. That
signed.
has,
Yeah. Yes, right. That's right. It's just not a baseball.
Right.
And to your point, you're right. Usually what happens with a ball like this is you somehow get Ohtani to sign it and mark it,
Yeah.
50-50 or whatever, and put a date on it or something like that. And then it becomes,
Right.
But I think that's why, to your point and to Joe's point maybe, I'd be happy to say, you know what, Dodgers, you take the ball. Give me the $300,000. There's no lawyers involved here, and it's nice and clean.
Wait, what's this? No lawyers?
No lawyers involved. No lawyers.
Why
no
am I
offense.
on this show?
No offense, but it's just keep it simple.
Yeah.
Because I do think it belongs not with the Dodgers and not necessarily with Ohtani.
They'll
I
turn
think
it
it
over to the
belongs
Hall
to
of
the
Fame.
Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Right.
All right. Jimmy Carter has voted.
Okay,
He's
good.
100 years old.
He's stuck around long
He's-
enough.
and that's what they're saying. He cast
did
his
it.
ballot for Kamala Harris.
There's a shock.
His grandson previously said he would vote for vice president because he doesn't believe former President Trump should be in the White House again. Carter is 100 years old, turned 100 on October 1st. makes him the oldest former president in U.S. history.
He's an amazing guy. I have
He
to
is.
say. Yeah, it's.
So, but he's been in hospice for a year.
I
at least
know.
a
He
year
looks
now.
horrible. I hate to say, at Rosalind's funeral, there was a picture of him. He looks terrible. I feel so bad. But he's been in hospice for 2 years. Who's in hospice for 2 years? When I heard, 2 years ago, it's like, oh, finally he's passing. Nope. He's
a strong
incredible.
individual.
He's incredible. I mean,
Here's another opportunity for you, Bob.
Really?
There's a woman in California. Well, not this particular one, but it could come up around here. A California doctor is suing a Thai restaurant, claiming they served her a meal so spicy it burned her internally. All right?
get Bob her phone number.
She ordered the spicy Dragon Balls appetizer at the Coup de Thai in Los Gatos, California, back in 2021. And according to the suit, the meal is advertised as spicy, so she asked them if she can make it with less heat since she doesn't tolerate spicy foods well. When she ate the dish, she said she, quote, felt her entire mouth, the roof of her mouth, her tongue, her throat, and her nose burn like fire, unquote, and that her, quote, eyes and nose watered, and she began coughing, unquote. She's seeking medical expenses, lost income, and damages. The case goes before a jury next August.
I don't.
Food is too.
You got to
the
put a
spicy food is
disclaimer
too
on
spicy.
food. I don't know how, because the human physiology is different, and I'll say this because my wife's not here right now, so I'll talk about her. But no, seriously, she does something that she drinks. She likes her soup hot. Well, we're not talking 160 degrees hot. She will take it right off the boil, pour it in a thing, and start eating it. And I'm like, how can you do that? I mean, you talk about hot; it's a different kind of heat. But I think, and she just starts spooning it away, no problem. And so that brings me back to this case. And you think, different people tolerate different things. So how does a restaurant become responsible for one person? Another person could probably eat that, have no problem at all, and yet she had a problem with it.
We said
do
it
you
was
just
spicy.
do you just put disclaimers on the menu or something and say, look, it impacts different people different ways, so you're on your own?
You're right, because I've had people say, Joe, here, try this. Is it spicy? Yeah, but it's not too bad. Already I know it's too spicy.
Yeah.
If you think it's not too bad, it's going to be way too spicy for me. So no thanks.
I just like your average.
anyway.
Give me an average Dynamite. I'm good.
You're good to go.
Beyond that, I don't know.
All right, that does it for the show for today. Thank you very much for listening in. Attorney Bob Lauder, thanks for coming in today.
Thank you for inviting me. Hope to be with you next week.
All right, and Tom Ward, thanks for coming in.
Yeah, thanks for the invite.
Sharing your
glad you were
insights
here,
and
man.
stuff.
No problem. It's not like I can bail you out on sports very much. Trust me.
Great.
All right, I'm Joe Callahan. Have a great day, everyone. And stay tuned for Gary Smith and the crew. Do your members at 9:30 here on ON Radio.
Broadcasting live and local daily from the Navigant Credit Union broadcast studio at the corner of Park Avenue and Kennedy Street. This is WOON Woonsocket Radio. And now, the news. Democratic Vice Presidential candidate Tim Walz is returning to Boston